As you can see, we have multiple casualties, multiple people who are injured. What we do is we call the fire company, we call the police, we call the ambulances, and they assist in our process here. Typically, on motor vehicle accidents, you will see different people doing different things. As you can see in our vehicles, we have people who are all bloody. There's even one young lady who has been ejected from the vehicle. If you can see her on the top of the vehicle there, she's been ejected. Obviously, she was not wearing her seatbelt. Wearing your seatbelt is of the most importance right now. She was not wearing her seatbelt. We have police officers out checking the scene. Generally, we are the first ones to arrive. After police arrive and make sure the scene is secure, make sure that there's nothing dangerous going on in a car, we call the fire companies and the first aid squad into the scene. Detective Gladney in front of you. He's going to be doing some field sobriety tests. Obviously, when he got to the scene, he saw that the driver of that vehicle there, he was intoxicated, whether it's on drugs or whether it's on alcohol. So Detective Gladney and Sergeant Leck are going to be doing field sobriety tests on this person. Field sobriety tests, they are meant to judge to see if anybody is drunk. We do multiple tests. Officer Gladney, or Detective Gladney, he is doing a walk and turn test. What he does is take 10 steps forward, heel to toe. Then the person's going to turn and take 10 steps backwards. As you can see, the fire company in the background, they've arrived with all of their gear. They are going to assess the situation right away. The ambulance personnel, they're going to be checking the vitals to see if that person laying across the hood is still living. We hope she is. It's prom night. We certainly hope she is. We hope she's going home to her parents. Detective Gladney is continuing his field sobriety test in front. It doesn't appear as though this gentleman's doing too well in those field sobriety tests. The firefighters are removing the young lady from the vehicle. They're checking her vitals, which means they're checking her pulse. They're checking her breathing, making sure that she's living still. We have a grieving mother. With the advent of, ladies and gentlemen, with the advent of social media, it is not out of the realm of things.
Sarah! Sarah!
It's not out of the realm of things for parents, for children, for friends to show up at our scenes. Social media dictates all of this. Obviously, the grieving mother here, she is seeing her daughter
Let me see her!
someplace. Somebody's either text messaged her, sent her a message on Facebook that her daughter has been possibly injured severely or even deceased. We have Detective Harmon here. He's taking pictures to make sure that we memorialize the scene. The scene has to be the way that we see it in case there's future court dates that are being run. As you can see, the firefighters, they have their jaws of life out. The jaws of life remove car doors, car hoods. The goal of the Jaws of Life is to extricate the people inside the vehicle safely. Make sure they are out of the car safe. Detective Gladney and Sergeant Leck are placing the young man under arrest. He obviously failed the field sobriety tests. Once you fail those field sobriety tests, you have to come into the police station and do what we call the breathalyzer. There's an implied consent. You cannot say no to the breathalyzer once you are deemed to be drunk. The implied consent law, you should all know it. You all passed driver's ed most likely, at least the majority of you have. The implied consent law says you must submit to a breath test. So Sergeant Leck and Detective Gladney are taking that young man in to headquarters to do the breathalyzer test. The breathalyzer is 99.99% accurate. So if that young man blows into our breathalyzer and gives us a reading of 0.08 or higher, they are legally drunk in the state of New Jersey. If they are legally drunk, they can be charged with a crime for killing somebody. Our young lady who was ejected, she's deceased now. She's never going to come home and see her parents again. She never made it home from the prom. All because of one young man's actions of drinking and driving. The fire department and the EMS personnel, their goal is to take the rest of these students out of the vehicles to make sure that they're not too severely injured. It appears as though they all have blood on them. So it must have been a pretty severe accident. The vehicle right in front of me here, the roof's caved in a bit. It looks like it may have rolled over at some point. It landed on its feet. One of the doors is off. The EMS personnel, they have a backboard. Once they have that backboard, it means that somebody may have a neck injury. I see stretchers coming out. Obviously, there's some severe injuries if they're bringing stretchers out. The firefighters continue to work on the doors, and they'll be cutting the roofs off to remove the other passengers and driver from the vehicle. It appears as though there's a lot of firefighters, a lot of EMS personnel, a lot of police officers at the scene. But this is typical. Generally, when we have a scene like this, we do have a lot of people doing a lot of work to try to get them out of the car as soon as possible. We want to try to save every single person in that car so they can go home and see their families at night. It looks like a couple of the kids in the car are pretty upset, pretty shaken up. Let's hope that they are going to survive. Once they have the doors and the roof off, the ambulance personnel, it's their job to take the blood pressure, to take the pulse, to take all the vital signs of the injured students. Detective Harmon still takes several pictures to memorialize the scene. There could be court cases pending on this accident for 10 years from now. So we have to make sure the scene is the same exact way as we found it. With people, where people were seated in vehicles, where vehicles were parked against each other, ended up against each other. Like I said, it appears as though one of the vehicles, if not both, may have rolled over once, or twice, or 3 times. From what I'm understanding, texting could have been an issue with one of the drivers also. Texting and the use of cellular telephones to talk is against the law, as you all know. Texting and driving is worse than drunk driving. From what I'm told, the driver who was drinking was also texting, so that's twice as bad. They're doing CPR on another student. first aid personnel are doing CPR on another student. Let's hope that this student here survives. They are doing their best to save this student's life. Ladies and gentlemen, your life is so fragile. You could be here, sitting here, watching this today, watching a motor vehicle accident, and today on the way home, or tonight on the way home, if you're not careful, you could be one of these students. We don't want that. We want you to be safe. We want you to go home to your families. We want you to get dressed for the prom. We want you to look good for the prom. But we want you to be safe. Part of being safe is not drinking and driving. Part of being safe is not texting and driving or talking on the phone and driving. If you're caught doing any of those, drinking and driving, texting and driving, talking on the phone, they're major violations. We will cite you. It's nothing against you. It's not that we don't like you. It's because we are doing it for your safety. It appears as though the fire department is starting to remove a roof on one of the vehicles. They're removing the roof in an attempt to save the backseat passenger, it looks like, on one of the vehicles. We have a young lady here who's severely injured. She's having CPR done on her also. There's chest compressions. This is a serious motor vehicle accident, ladies and gentlemen. We have at least one person deceased so far. 2 people are having CPR done on them. This young man who was driving the car in the vehicle, who was texting and driving, could be going to jail for a very, very, very long time. I don't know his exact age, but we know at least 17. I would suspect he's probably not over 18 or 19 years old. He's driving his vehicle. This may be the last time he's driving his vehicle for the next 30 or 40 years, 50 years maybe. That's how long you can go to prison for making one bad decision. One texting and driving decision, you kill somebody, you injured somebody, you maim somebody. You could be going to jail for a very, very long time. We don't want that. We want you to be educated. The fire companies are still working fast and furious on removing these hoods, removing the roofs, removing the doors to make sure that everyone is out of the vehicles. We have a second person who is deceased. That's 2 people that are deceased in one motor vehicle accident. Can you imagine this scene for the fire personnel, for the police personnel, for the emergency services? Can you imagine going home and thinking about anything but what you're seeing here? That's what we do every day. Every day we have to be prepared to see this type of scene, to remove bodies from vehicles. It appears as though they stabilized this one young lady. They're taking her to an ambulance. They saved another young lady here. Our EMS personnel does a wonderful job. They saved her life. She's down on the backboard with a neck collar on because they're afraid she has a neck injury. She's in obvious pain. It appears as though there's still one passenger stuck in a vehicle. We don't know what their condition is. The fire company is working as fast as they possibly can to remove this person from the vehicle. What they do is they cover that person up when they're removing the doors and the hoods and the roofs. They cover the person up so there's nothing on them. The fire company is working on the SUV. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this person in the SUV is going to live so we don't have 3 casualties, 3 deceased people in the vehicles. This young lady here, the EMS personnel just told me, this young lady right here, she lost all feeling in her legs. So she's going to be a paraplegic. From the waist down, she's never going to walk again probably. She'll be assessed when she goes to the hospital. But she's permanently maimed from this incident. She's going to have years of physical therapy. She's going to have years of working on trying to walk again. Will she walk again? We don't know that. Right now, she has no feeling in her legs, so obviously she will not be walking and be confined to a wheelchair for the time being. As you can feel, you guys are hot out here. I'm hot out here. Can you imagine the firefighters and the EMS personnel in their uniforms? They're wearing jackets. They're wearing long pants. They're probably boiling out here, but they volunteer to do a good job for the community in order to save people's lives. So that's what they're doing. They're saving somebody's life right now. The door just came off of the SUV. There's an EMS personnel in the SUV evaluating the final person in the vehicle. Let's hope that she's okay, or he's okay. I can't see if it's a he or she. After this entire scene is cleared of any of the injured or deceased people, then the police department will come in and do further pictures, do measurements, and make sure that we do properly memorialize the scene. That door's been removed. The EMS personnel is now moving in so they can do their job to get this person out quickly. The fire department is working on removing the roof to make the EMS personnel job a little easier. I can tell you this, our judge in our court, Judge Nowinski, he will not let anybody go for a drunk driving ticket. He will not let anybody go for a texting ticket. He will not let anybody go for a talking on the phone ticket. All those tickets he keeps. We call it downgrading. If a ticket is downgraded, that means it's brought down from the original charges. Judge Nowinski will not bring down a ticket for DWI or talking or texting on a cell phone. It's mandatory that he keep it the way it is. Again, if there's an injury or if there is a death based on talking on a cell phone, texting, or DWI, you're pretty much guaranteed jail time. Jail is not a fun place, ladies and gentlemen. Jail is not a fun place whatsoever. All the luxuries you have at home, of your own bedroom, they're all taken away from you. Your freedom, your liberty is taken away from you. There will not be any more cell phones. There will not be any more television. There will not be any more video games. There will not be any more visits from mom and dad in an unsecured location. There will not be any more freedom. There will not be any more time with friends. You will be in jail with hardened criminals. Hardened criminals do not like people who kill others based on drinking and driving, texting, and cell phone use. The fire company is still working to get that roof off. I see some movement from the patient. I'm hoping that this patient is still alive. This person's still alive in the vehicle. The roof is being removed. The EMS personnel is now going in to check the patient's well-being. This is the final patient in our scene. This young lady, she's breathing. She looks like she's visibly shaken. I see she's got blood on her head, on her neck, on her face. She's obviously been badly injured. That one young lady who was ejected from the vehicle, I'm sure that she was not wearing her seatbelt. Seatbelt saved lives, ladies and gentlemen. She's visibly upset. Seatbelt saved lives. As in any scene, the victim is visibly shaken. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what kind of injury she has. She doesn't know if she's going to live. So it's typical for patients to act out. As you can see, our scene is clear from any injuries. Right now, the police department generally moves in, and we will do the rest of our investigation to see exactly what happens.
Morning. It's good to be back. I was actually here last year and gave the same talk. So I'm Dr. Quinlan. I work right down the street here at Capitol. We are your local trauma surgeon. Last year I was actually on call this night. I am not on call tonight, and they were very good. They did not bother me, and I was able to sleep. All right, so what do? Well, at the trauma center, we're basically there to save lives, right? In the state of New Jersey, there's 7 trauma centers all through the state. We provide life-saving treatment to people with life-threatening injuries. A good portion of our injuries are drug and alcohol related and distracted driving injuries. And then, of course, not everyone survives. All right, you didn't think you'd arrive to us in a limo, did you? You'll probably come in by ambulance to us, being that you're in our county and local. A lot of our patients are flown to us. All right, you're planning to dine with your friends, but this is a table for one, okay? This is our trauma bay. Yeah, someone got it. This is our trauma bay. This is trauma typical, all the equipment we need. All right, hope you don't mind being naked in front of strangers. All right, good for you. All right, in trauma care, we do the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. We make sure you still have a pulse, you're breathing. The 5th is E, right? A, B, C, D, E is exposure. And there you go. There's your nice suit. It's going to be all cut up. And you won't get your deposit back. All right. So basically, drinking and driving, drugging and driving, texting and driving, impulsive behaviors can all lead to this. You don't want this. There we go. Very typical of a motor vehicle collision. Your car stops in a hurry, you put your foot out, you hold your tensed up, and you break your leg. Obviously, that's not going in the right direction anymore. In order to care for you, we do a lot of things to you. There's a lot of lines, a lot of tubes. This is a NG tube. There's a C-collar around his neck. Obviously, you can see he's got blunt facial trauma. This is very common in patients who don't wear seatbelts. This is a CAT scan. Usually once we get you through the trauma bay, our next stop is CAT scan. We want to make sure that you don't have any internal injuries. And then the last stop we go is to surgery. So let's do the math. So motor vehicles are the #1 cause of death In teens, more than 10,000 people die from an alcohol-related car accident. That's 1 every 51 seconds. 45% of the people have another person in the car. 1 in 3 drunk drivers involved in a fatal accident are between the ages of 17 and 24. Teenage. 2,500 teenagers between the ages of 13 and 19 were involved in a motor vehicle collision in 2013. 2 out of 3 were males. We don't do so well. 80% of teens who chose to drink and drive over calling their parents due to the consequences. Need to change that, right? I have 2 children. My son's 16, my daughter's 14. I know what I do for a living. They know what I do for a living. They will get probably a stern talking to and some punishment, but usually in the morning. All right? Most of your parents would be very understanding. All right? We'd rather have alive children that annoyed us in the middle of the night and made us come get them than a dead or injured child. 22% say they would get in the car with an intoxicated driver rather than call your parent. That's even worse, okay? Because you actually chose to do that, right? You chose to make a decision to get in the car with an impaired driver. Never want to do that. Never, ever. Too many times, the person that's most injured is in the passenger seat, and that's the one that had no blood alcohol in them. 1 out of every 6 of you will be involved in an accident in your teenage years. Even I was involved in an accident in my teenage years, about a year and a half after I got my license. 6.8% of those will die. 78% of motor vehicle-related teenage deaths were as passengers, not as a driver, as a passenger. 1/3 of alcohol-related teen injuries are between April to June, prom season. 31% of the teens say they were likely to drink or consume alcohol tonight, and 54% admit to actually having 4 or more drinks tonight. All right, would you rather be escorted to the prom than to court? Obviously, you're going to have more about that later. Here's some tips. Always wear your seatbelt in the car. Always. In the last week alone, in the trauma center, we've had a fatality and a quadriplegic. They would both be alive or walking today if they had their seatbelts on. The other passengers in the car walked away and were discharged within a day, except for those 2 individuals. You obviously do not drive under the influence of drugs or alcohol or ride in a car with someone. It's very important too, sometimes if you're an inexperienced driver and you're driving with someone intoxicated in the car, their behavior can be very erratic and impulsive. You'd almost rather get an experienced driver because we have several occasions where the passenger did something distracting, either jumped out of the moving car or pushed into them that caused them to have an accident. Keep both hands on the wheels and eyes on the road. Do not pick up your cell phone while driving, please. Do not text and drive. It's going to probably, in your age group, replace alcohol in age-related fatality. If you need to, just pull the car over. And if you can, keep the phone in the bag or somewhere protected, so in case you are in an accident, you can contact somebody. Be a defensive driver, and if you are unable, just call someone you trust for a ride. All right, you can start the video.
Last summer, 2 teens from Springfield survived a near-deadly crash after their prom. And while they're still alive, that night has changed their lives forever. 22 News reporter Jacqueline Jing explains.
It was like any other prom night. Smiles, group pictures, dancing, fun. A night Sabbath seniors would never forget. But this crash on Allen Street in Springfield made this night truly unforgettable.
The engine was, large on my lap. I couldn't move. I wasn't budging, so I just told Penny to go for 90.
Nearly a year later, you can still see where the car crashed, glass pieces of the car scattered on the ground. A brutal reminder of the night that still haunts the driver, Casey Calendar.
I was driving, I was responsible, and, I should have took the brunt of everything that happened.
After the accident, both of them were hospitalized. Casey broke his leg in multiple places, but he made it to graduation. Naeem Mahfouz was in a coma for nearly 3 weeks.
I just cried and cried and cried and cried. I barely even slept. I barely slept at all, just because of the fact that I was, terrified of what I would see when I closed my eyes. If there was any way possible that I could have switched to being in a position, I would do it already.
This is Naeem now, the former wrestler who received a full-ride scholarship to Fairfield University, now has severe short-term memory loss and suffers from tremors that restrict him to a wheelchair.
Just keep the faith.
He says his friends have helped him get through the tough times, especially his best friend Casey.
It is perfect. Casey's such a good friend. He's my boy, cause I'll do anything for him.
He's my brother. Love him to death. Guess every time I look around, I'm grateful. He's still here.
A crash that could have taken both of their lives has now given these two teens a new sense of life. But it is a painful memory that the two of them will always live with.
I can't make him get up and walk again, but the least I can do is help to bring a sense of normalcy back into his life.
That was Jacqueline Jing reporting. You can help Naeem. There's a fundraiser tonight at 6 at the Oak Ridge Golf Club in Feeding Hills. If you want to make a donation or find out more information, just go to our website at wwlp.com.
So that kid will never be the same, regardless of what therapy he goes through. That kid, unfortunately, will be that way for probably a good portion of his life. So tonight, have a good time, enjoy yourself. It's a congratulations on finishing. This is a big milestone in your life. But please just use your head a little bit, and then you can avoid seeing Dr. Evely tonight. All right, thank you.
All right. Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's going to be your prom. Tonight's a fun night. But like Dr. Quinlan said, you have to be careful. You can't make one single mistake because one mistake could be your last. It seems like yesterday I sat here in your shoes in this auditorium. It's been 25 years. I can't believe it. It's been 25 years. 25 years, June 16th, 1990, I graduated from Lawrence High School. A year prior to me graduating, right at the beginning of June, I don't know the exact date, we had a nice young lady. She was pretty, she was intelligent, she was a field hockey player. She had just got a field hockey scholarship type deal to the College of New Jersey. Her mother never let her go out because her mother wanted to protect her. Well, Mom let her go out because she had just gotten a scholarship to the College of New Jersey. Mom said, you can go out tonight to celebrate, but make sure you're home by midnight. Well, she went out to the town of Cranberry, New Jersey with a couple friends, her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was drinking that night, and she was driving in a vehicle with her boyfriend. And it was her boyfriend sitting in the driver's seat, his friend sitting in the passenger seat, and it was a hatchback vehicle, so there was no back seat, just a hatch in the back, like almost like a Corvette type of vehicle. And she was kind of kneeling in between the two seats in the hatchback area. Well, this young man was drinking, and he hit a telephone pole. She was ejected from the vehicle, and she did not survive that night. That was my personal first brush with someone that I sort of knew not coming home. And to this day, I see her parents once in a great while wandering through Lawrence, and I still see a look of sadness on her face. I still see a look of tears in their eyes. I can still remember waiting in line at her funeral to say our last respects to this young lady. Mom had to live with, and it's not Mom's fault, believe me. Mom had to live with the fact that she protected this young lady. She protected her well. One mistake was made. She got into a car with somebody who was drinking. It wasn't even her mistake. Besides getting into the car, she didn't drink. She had no alcohol in her system, but this other young man did. The other young man, his friend, walked away from the accident scene. Nothing. No injuries. She died. That same thing can happen to any single one of us if we're not careful. Please be careful tonight. Please be careful. You're texting and driving, talking on the phone and driving, because one little mistake could mean the rest of your life either never coming home or behind bars. I can promise you, our judge does not get breaks. If you text and drive, drink and drive, talk on the phone and drive, and you cause an accident that has severe injury or death, I guarantee you will be going to jail. So please, please, please enjoy your night tonight. Make sure you have fun. It's a time of your life. But also make sure that you are all extremely careful while doing so. Lawrence Township Municipal Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Brian Duff presides over our court. Officers, bring him into the courtroom, please.
Next case, the State versus Aaron Michael Catlin. The defendant will please rise. Officers, it seems every year around this time we have charges such as these. Mr. Catlin, you've been brought before the Lawrence Township Municipal Court to be arraigned on a number of serious charges arising out of an automobile accident you were involved in late last night. The charges that are in place before this court are 2 counts of death by auto, where an actor causes the death of another person recklessly while driving a vehicle. The reckless act alleged in this complaint is that you were driving while intoxicated and also under the influence of controlled dangerous substances. It's a first-degree offense, as I understand it, because it was within 1,000 feet of a school. It's a school zone offense. Most of the neighborhoods in Lawrence are in school zones. If convicted, Mr. Catlin, on either of these 2 counts, you face between 10 and 20 years in prison. There is a presumption of incarceration. That means upon conviction, you will serve jail time. Do you understand that? According to the bail guidelines, I am to set them between $150,000 and $350,000 per count. I will set it at $400,000, $200,000 on each count. It is a 10% permissible offense. It is my understanding from the complaint placed in front of me that there were also 4 individuals that were seriously injured in this accident. As a result, you have been charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault by automobile. A person who drives a vehicle or vessel in violation of 39:4-50, which is New Jersey's driving while intoxicated statute, and causes serious bodily injuries within 1,000 feet of a school zone, is guilty of aggravated assault by auto. Because of the fact that this took place in a school zone, it is a second-degree offense. I will set bail at $40,000 per count. That's $160,000. It's also my understanding that pursuant to a search of the vehicle following the accident, various items of controlled dangerous substances and paraphernalia were found in the vehicle. Those are disorderly persons offenses. Should the charges that I've already outlined against you be resolved, those charges will come back down to the Lawrence Township Municipal Court. The court does not have jurisdiction over those offenses at this time. I am going to advise you of the penalties and fines for a driving while intoxicated conviction in New Jersey. For a first offense of any blood alcohol concentration of 0.1% or greater, you will face between 7 months and 1 year in prison. I'm looking at these complaints, it appears that you are 18 years of age. Even though you're underage to drink, you would still face the adult penalties if convicted with those blood readings. Do you understand that? 7 months to a year, loss of license, a fine between $300 and $500. You'd have to do between 12 and 48 hours in the Intoxicated Driver Resource Center. If your blood reading, and we do not have those readings at this time, is in excess of 0.15%, you would face a mandatory ignition interlock device being placed on your vehicle when you resume your driving privileges. On a first offense, you face a prison term of up to 30 days. It's my understanding you're also charged with reckless driving. That's a 5-point offense. DWI would be a 9-point offense. It's my understanding you were charged with driving while texting in addition to being intoxicated. For a first offense, you would face a fine between $200 and $400. Subsequent offenses, the fines increase. Starting with the third offense, you can lose your driving privileges. It's my obligation to inform you that you have certain rights before this court and before the Mercer County Superior Court. You have the right to counsel. If you can't afford counsel, counsel will be afforded to you. You have the right to remain silent during this entire process. If you choose to give up that right at any time, anything you say can and will be used in prosecution of you with regard to these charges. Do you understand those rights? It's also my obligation to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf to all these indictable charges, as well as on the non-indictable. At this point in time, Mr. Catlin, you'll be remanded to Mercer County Correctional Facility pending your ability to make bail. Your total bail at this time is $460,000. If you're unable to post bail, you'll be remanded there until your trial or plea. You understand those instructions. Officers, defendants remanded. Hey, good morning. You heard some very serious things earlier from Dr. Quinlan, one of the best trauma surgeons in Mercer County and possibly the state. You've heard them from Officer Florio as well. I'm not going to repeat those for you. My job is to come up and inform you and educate you about some of the very serious consequences that face the individual, in addition to moral consequences that that individual may face as a result of an accident where people are injured or killed involving drinking and driving, texting and driving, and the like. This is an opportunity for you guys to make all of us proud, your teachers, your members of the community. My name is Brian Duff. I live in Lawrence. I practice law at a law firm in Hamilton Township. I've represented your friends, your neighbors who are injured, as well as who have been charged with some of these very serious offenses. As Dr. Quinlan indicated, a lot of people get hurt in these accidents. They don't fully recover. This is a great opportunity tonight to go out and enjoy yourself. You've worked extremely hard over the last 4 years. The work isn't finished. You're very close to the finish line. Enjoy yourselves. This next part of the program is quite poignant. I've been privileged enough to watch you over the past 2 years here. I wish you guys have a good time. I want everybody to be intact when we get down to graduation time in a couple of weeks, all right? Take care and enjoy yourselves.
Thank you very much for helping us with this demonstration. We really appreciate your help.
You told me not to drink, Mom, so I had a Sprite instead. I felt proud of myself, the way you said I would, but I didn't drink and drive, though some friends said I should. I made a healthy choice, and your advice to me was right. The party finally ended, and the kids drove out of sight. I got into my car, sure to get home in one piece. I never knew what was coming, Mom. Something I expected least. Now I'm lying on the pavement and I hear the policeman say, "The kid that caused this wreck was drunk." Mom, his voice seems far away. My own blood's all around me as I try hard not to cry. I can hear the paramedics say, "This girl is going to die." I'm sure the guy had no idea why he was flying high, because he chose to drink and drive. Now I would have to die. So why do people do it, Mom? Knowing that it ruins lives. And now, the pain is cutting me like 100 stabbing knives. Tell sister not to be afraid, Mom. Tell Daddy to be brave. And when I go to heaven, put Mommy's girl in my grave. Someone should have taught him that it's wrong to drink and drive. Maybe if his parents had, I'd still be alive. My breath is getting shorter, Mom. I'm getting really scared. These are my final moments, and I'm so unprepared. I wish that you could hold me, Mom, as I lay here and die. I wish I could say I love you, Mom. So I love you. And goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, all too often this happens. All too often this happens where a mother has to say goodbye to their child, a father has to say goodbye to their child. Please don't make it you tonight. Please have a great time. Please be careful. Please make it home, make it to graduation. Right now I have Mr. Galber coming up and going to address the class.
All right, good morning, everybody. All right, thank you. All right, listen to me. You've got some very heavy-hitting messages that have come through to you this morning. All right, and you know the deal, so I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. But over the course of tonight and over the course of the weekend, you're going to be in a position where you're going to make a lot of decisions for yourself. Decisions that will affect or could affect the rest of your lives, the rest of their friends' lives, or other people who are around you. All right, when you get to the prom tonight, all right, what I want to show you is something. This is what this is. All right, that's a breathalyzer. Okay, they're very portable these days. It's not a big contraption. You don't even have to breathe into this. If you put it on a certain mode and you just hold it in the air, and it'll go off if somebody's got alcohol on their breath. Okay? Now, I have two options of what I can do with this. I can stand at the door and wave everybody that comes through, or I can put it in my car and I can leave it there. Now, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put it in my car. All right? And the reason is because I trust all of you to be smart and to do the right thing. When you come through those front doors, you'll still be coming through me and any number of other people, but I need you to understand that I trust you to make the right decisions, not only tonight, but also over the course of this weekend. Added to it, what I'm not going to do, and what I don't want anybody in this auditorium to put me in a position where I have to come in here next Monday or Tuesday or whenever and have some type of assembly with the rest of the student body, the teachers, as well as the community, your parents, and the media to explain why any one of us or any number of us are not with us. I'm not doing that. And I need your cooperation to make sure that that doesn't happen, because the other thing that I'm not doing, I'm not taking your seat at graduation and leaving it empty and putting your gown on it where you would have sat in what you would have worn at graduation. All right? The reason I'm not doing that is because none of that's going to happen to anybody in this family right here. You got me? All right, thank you. Listen. But it's important. Now, this is what you got to do. All right, I'm trusting you. This is part of being a student, part of being a teacher. I have to be able to trust my students to make the right decisions. You got to look out for each other over the course of this weekend. You got to take care of each other over the course of this weekend, and you got to use your head. Nobody goes out and says, man, I'm going to get all loaded up and then I'm going to drive my car. Nobody says that. It just kind of happens. Okay? All I'm saying to you guys is be smart, stay together, and take care of yourselves. All right? I want all 302 of us back here when we come back Monday. All right, or maybe Tuesday. You better make sure you got a days. You got the days to burn. I'm not even, this is off the record, but if you're not going to be here, you better, I don't want anybody having attendance problems in about a month. You know what I mean? All right, so I don't want to hear that. But when you do get back, all of us are back together. And then we finish strong and we graduate in less than a month. Everybody got it? All right. All right, you guys have been great. Hey, listen, I've been talking with a lot of people about this over the last few days. Most of you were here, we were together when you guys were like 8 years old, man. So it's been a long time. It's been my privilege to see you grow up, become young men and young women, do the right thing tonight over the weekend.